Well, this movie definitely gives a new meaning to the term hospital wall. Hi, welcome back to Man Cave Movies, and today I'm going to be talking about the new sports horror film, Him. I'm going to talk about what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and if I think you should go see it or not. So I went to the theaters to go see Him the other day, and Letterboxd describes the film as after suffering a potentially career-ending brain trauma, Cameron Cade receives a lifeline when his hero, legendary 8-time championship quarterback and cultural megastar Isaiah White, offers to train Cam at Isaiah's isolated compound that he shares with a celebrity influencer wife. But as Cam's training accelerates, Isaiah's charisma begins to curdle into something darker. And overall, I think this is a really, really cool concept for a horror movie. I think that having the horror movie melded with the sports movie is something that only really, I guess maybe the fan, Tony Scott film with Robert De Niro and Wesley Snipes that kind of does that, but that's even more of a thriller. Um, and I think that this concept has a lot of potential to do something very, very cool with the athlete that is just single-minded on winning, trying to raise up a young protege, and it kind of going wrong. I think it was a really, really cool concept, and I think that the film had some really, really cool shots. I don't know if the director or the cinematographer was the one who was kind of in the driver's seat for a lot of these, but I think that whoever was has a great eye for shots that make you uncomfortable, make you cringe. It kind of has some shots that almost remind me of in a lot more graphic way, the NFL Blitz video games, if any of you ever remember playing those. Just very, very crunchy and uncomfortable shots and sound effects. And I think that it did a really good job of making you kind of squirm in your seat a little bit because it's just that uncomfortable. And I also really enjoyed Marlon Wayans and Tyreek Withers. I think that Wayans as the older mentor and Withers as the mentee, I think both did a very, very good job of portraying those sort of characters and making you really get kind of invested in what's going on with them, which I think that as far as the performances go, working with what they were given, I think they both did a fantastic job in making you want to see where the rest of this goes, and I think that part of it was pretty well done. Now, on this channel, I really try to stay positive. I think that there are good factors in every movie I watch, and most of my reviews, you can go back and see that even if I have some cons for the movie, I say they never really pull me out of the movie, because I can always kind of track with what a movie's trying to do. Even if I'm not all the way into it or all the way invested, I'm usually pretty good at, just enjoying a movie on its own terms for what it is. I've recommended the Battleship movie to people if you just want a dumb action movie. So, like, I am not in any sort of way a person who thinks that a movie has to be of a certain pedigree or certain persuasion to be a good movie. However, Him did have some issues that really just kind of soured me on the movie a little bit. I think that the film has a few different messages that it kind of starts to go down the path of exploring and then just kind of wanders off and doesn't end up doing anything with them. There's kind of a thread that goes in and out about people's hero worship of athletes and, the I guess impact that they have on culture. There's also a couple spots that I thought they might have been going the when masculinity turns toxic route, which either of which, if they would have just, committed, stayed with it through the whole movie, I think would have been fine. But they don't really do that. They just kind of throw it in little nuggets here or there in the movie, instead of making it a solid through line. So overall, it kind of went in and out for me. It kind of does it in almost a I don't want to say pretentious because I don't think that that's what it is, but it does it in a way where it sometimes it goes style over substance with certain things, and sometimes it I think it thinks it's being more obvious than it actually is, and it just really didn't fully track with me. I wish they would have been a little more solid in that through line it felt like they were trying to put in there. Um, I also think that sometimes it just does things just for the sake of being gross or weird. Um, because the direction that this film ends up going and where I thought it were going to go are two separate things, which is absolutely fine. But all of the gross kind of freak out, like what the heck is going on moments, all kind of came in line and came in track with where I thought the movie was going to go based on the first half of the movie and the trailers. And it wasn't really a twist that you could sort of see coming. Like, yeah, there are little breadcrumbs and stuff like that, but the best twists in movies are movies where you can go back and look at it and be like, oh my gosh, this makes so much more sense. But it doesn't really do that, and I'll have to rewatch it at some point to confirm this. But just thinking back on it, it doesn't really feel like going back and watching the movie and be like, oh, that's why he did that, or oh, that's why he did that. Besides one specific thing, and everything else, it doesn't really, like I said, it just doesn't track for me. And then the last 20 minutes of the movie or so just totally go off the rails. It becomes almost a totally different kind of movie, just weird. Doesn't really explain itself, like where it's going, which a movie does not have to hold your hand by any means, and it could still be a good movie. And I've seen people online that have actually really enjoyed the last 20 minutes. It just wasn't for me. I think that was it could have been a cool concept either way if they would have taken one direction with this movie and sort of committed to it. But I just didn't feel like they did that. I feel like they had 4 or 5 different ideas, and instead of picking, they just kind of took a little bit from each one. So overall, definitely some big issues I had with this film. Things that I want to do a rewatch to sort of see how I feel about it on a second watch. Maybe knowing what's coming, I'll enjoy it a little more. But as of right now, it doesn't really do it for me. So overall, while there was a lot of things that I felt like went into him that added up, that felt like it should be a movie that I really enjoyed. I just, at the end of the day, when I walked out of the theater, I just didn't really connect with the movie all that much. I'm definitely very excited to see where this filmmaker goes from here, and I'm still going to continue to watch Jordan Peele produced movies, just because I do think that in general, both his directed films and some of his produced work are pretty enjoyable. So I'm definitely going to keep going out of my way to see those. But this one in particular just didn't really do it for me. It didn't really come together the way that I felt like it could have. And so overall, I'm going to have to give this movie a 2 out of 5.